You know, we're going through some really, really tough times here in the country, and I just hope everybody is safe and sound. Of course, I know we're experiencing a lot here in Washington State. I mean, this was the epicenter of the COVID-19 slash coronavirus. And sometimes it gets tough. So I'm going to try to crank out some more content, and what better way to do that than going back to the look at the schedule well. Now, you know, last time I did January 1987, and I'm going to use that as a point to do two more. One from the past, and one that we're going to talk about right now from the last block that they ever had for game shows, and that is March of 1993. And if you are a fan of the old guard that we had here on this channel, aka Game Show Garbage, I think you have a good idea on where this schedule kinda lines up. Now, with all the sports being canceled, I mean, we don't have the MLB, we don't have the NBA, we don't have the NHL, I mean, no hockey playoff schedules to look forward to. But one thing is for sure, we could always count on this Woody Page clip.
You gotta look at the schedule, Pascal.
Now, as I said in the previous NBC schedule video, this is the network schedule, so this wasn't the actual schedule that a lot of people saw in their local channels back in 1993. We'll explain more about that later when we find out what happened with the schedule. So, let's get started, shall we? We'll kick things off at 11 a.m. with reruns of Classic Concentration. This is a reason on how weird 1993 was for NBC in daytime. Classic Concentration hasn't produced new episodes since September of 1991. However, ratings were good for the reruns, so they kept it on because of reasons. It's one of those decisions that has always baffled me. If the show was still popular enough to be on the schedule, you could still have Mark Goodson make new episodes, but keep the rate per episode the same or a little bit lower. I'm sure Goodson wouldn't have minded, as folks would get work. That was before Wink Martindale uploaded a run-through of Classic Concentration 2, where a new version was being worked on where the budget would be a bit bigger than the original and apparently an hour long. While it was interesting, an hour-long version would be in the cards for NBC, so they continued to crank out the reruns. But even in the reruns, Alex was in prime form as he was on Jeopardy, and the chemistry between him and Marjorie Goodson Cut and the contestants were fantastic. And oddly enough, even in rerun form, this is still the highlight of the 1993 schedule. So, sit back, relax, and strap it down. It's gonna get rough. At 11:30, it's Family Secrets with Bob Eubanks. The 1992-1993 TV season for Bob Eubanks was horrendous. In syndication, he had this game talk show hybrid called Infatuation, and it was an absolute disaster. And then, worst of all, came this. The Newlywed Game format is market tested and works. However, the gigantic problem is that this show is marred with gigantic production issues. Nothing technical or anything like that. It's the behind-the-scenes issues that make me believe this show is as bad as it was. The poor screening of the contestants and the rush to get the show on the air makes the show downright awful. That poor screening resulted infamously in one episode being unaired. Bob was still Bob, but when it came to working with the kids in the Newlywed Game scenario, he came off as a tad uncomfortable. I did a full review of this disaster, so go check out the Game Show Garbage video I did on the show in the archives. What more needs to be said other than that the show is just flat out bad? At 12 o'clock noon, it's Scrabble with Chuck Woolery. In January of 1993, Red Grundy got back into the game with two shows on NBC, and one of them was a revival of Scrabble. It was everything that everybody loved about the original version, but with one big problem. The format for the show is the same as it was when it was cancelled, save for the pink and blue squares in the front game. Instead of being worth bonus money, it's now added to a growing jackpot, which starts at $1,000 and grows by each pink and blue square cashed in on. While the jackpot could grow pretty high, some instances had the show only offer the base $1,000 in the bonus game, and that sets off a big alarm in my head. I don't like it when the front game can give away more than the end game. Aside from that, the game itself was quite fine, and the show itself was quite fine. Chuck was still Chuck, and the clues written by the staff were just as quirky and creative as they ever were. This is another one where I have to say go check out the Games of 90 I did a few months ago in the archives. It gives a little more information on what happened with this version of Scrabble. We wrap up the block at 12:30 with Scattegories starring Dick Clark. Scattegories was a party game that launched in 1988, and for a few years Red Grundy tried to develop it into a game show, kind of like what he did with Scrabble. Unfortunately, this did not turn out nearly as well as Scrabble did. There's a lot going on with Scattegories that, to me, just felt off. Firstly, Dick Clark didn't come up as the professional as you'd see him before on Pyramid and the Challengers. Secondly, the judging system felt off with two different sets of judges used for different events. Thirdly, the Battle of the Sexes format after the year 1975 never works. It would have been better suited for a team of friends or family or co-workers. Finally, the cheapness bug that bit Scrabble in the ass shows its ugly head again. $500 for a game plus the jackpot of $4,000 at its base value split by 4 players is paltry. I'm just kind of scratching the surface here. Maybe this requires a full video dedicated to short-lived shows to get my full thoughts on this hackneyed translation. So now the ultimate question is, what happened? Well, at 12 and 12:30, not a lot of stations cleared Scrabble and Scattegories for that time slot. A lot of networks decided to air local news in that 12 o'clock and 12:30 slot. King 5 in our hometown always aired news at 12 and 12:30, so Scrabble's categories were moved to later on in the day or didn't air at all. It depends. And because of how bad Family Secrets was and the kerfuffle that arose to, the entire schedule, save for classic concentration reruns, was gone by June 11th, 1993. Replacing Scattegories, though, was Caesar's Challenge, and classic concentration reruns would be moved from 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. And by January of 1994, the entire block was gone. NBC got out of the game, and The Price is Right with CBS became the only game in town for daytime TV. Well, that's going to do it for us. I'd like to thank everybody for watching, and I hope you follow us by clicking on that subscribe button here on YouTube. And also, if you want to help grow Game Show Gumbo quite a bit, the channel, to get more look at the schedules out, get some more stuff out, maybe the super thing that I hinted to earlier when talking about Scattegories, become a backer at our Patreon at patreon.com/GameShowGumbo. Until next time, I'm Cindy Seidelman. Stay safe, folks, and bye-bye.